magical. And then she'd say everything you want to dream away. Under this pressure, under this weight, we are diamonds taking shape. We are diamonds taking shape.
Got me feeling spicy. I know that we don't speak the same language, but I'm gonna let my body talk for me. Hola, me llamo Katie. Little Miss Girl got me feeling naughty. I know that we don't speak the same language, so I'm gonna let my body talk for me.
Calma, yo quiero ver cómo ella lo menea. Mueve ese boom boom girl. Es una asesina cuando baila, quiere que todo el mundo la vea. I like you boom boom girl. Con calma, yo quiero ver cómo ella lo menea. Mueve ese boom boom girl. Tiene adrenalina, mete la pista, vente, hazme lo que sea. I like you boom boom girl.
Just to put my girls on a hunt tonight. Got a feeling I'ma catch a wild one. And I know that I'm not typically your type, but you never had this kind of stimulation. Eyes on me when I light up the room. You play the right vibe and my body will move. Easy baby, I see you're in the mood, and me too. Con calma, I see you loving the way I work the floor now. I got that boom boom boy. You could be my Puerto Rican dream, and I'll be your California girl now. I got that boom boom boy. Con calma, I see you loving the way I work the floor now. I got that boom boom boy. You could be my Puerto Rican dream, and I'll be your California girl now. I got that boom boom boy.
Tiene candela y yo tengo la vela. Llama 911, se está quemando la suela. Me daña cuando la faldita esa me la modela. Mami, estás enferma, pero tu show no lo cancela. Te llaman a ti, la reina del party. Mete esa tunga, tiene ese party. Tira tu paso, no pare. Dale, dale. Somos los bandidos de la rumba y romance. Y son DJ otra vez pa' que dance. Échale, échale, échale pa' atrás. Échale, échale pa' adelante. Calma, yo quiero ver cómo ella lo menea. Mueve ese boom boom girl. Es una asesina cuando baila, quiere que todo el mundo la vea. I like you boom boom girl.
Con calma, I see you loving the way I work the floor now. I got that boom boom boy. You could be my Puerto Rican dream, and I'll be your California girl now. I got that boom boom boy.
Come with a nice young lady, intelligent, yes, she Jacqueline Ari. Everywhere me go, me never left her at all. You say that I miss me at the Ram Dance Man. Ram it in a dance, in a nation. You never know, say that I miss me at the boom shop. I take my never lay down flat in a one cardboard box. You say that I'm a Yankee, I go reaching out the top.
Yo quiero ver cómo ella lo menea. Mueve ese boom boom girl. Es una asesina cuando
Presented by Cooper Tire. Joining us in the public address booth, the voice of this Road to Indy program, Rob Howden. And boy, oh boy, did we have some crazy sessions earlier today. Now it's time to go qualifying.
Yeah, let's hope that cooler heads prevail here as the drivers back on the track for their first of 2 qualifying sessions. This is qualifying for race number 1 of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, presented by Cooper Tires. Again, Indy Pro, that second rung of the Road to Indy. Michael, off the start, you and I just got up here to the booth. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. You welcomed everyone here to the track, to the Honda Indy Toronto, and boom, all of a sudden, contact with a couple of drivers coming out of turn 11. We had 3 red flags in the USF2000 practice session. It calmed down a little bit, I guess, in Indy Pro with just that 1 red flag at the start, and thankfully, Indy Lights were able to get through cleanly.
So the first laps now being turned in by drivers, and we will see these lap times slowly break the 1 minute 10 second mark, probably to the 1.9s. We might even see a 1:08 before this session is over. Maybe a high 1:08. In any case, Stingray Robb leads the field down in that Uncos Racing machine. Rasmussen Lynn, his teammate, second quick. Then is Parker Thompson, Kyle Kirkwood, and Nikita Lastochkin.
You know, Michael, I was able to talk to Kyle Kirkwood during the Indy Lights practice session a little bit. Ask him, of course, he ran last year in the USF2000 program, won the championship, and scored a couple of wins here. I asked him about the difference in the speed, because it's about 6 or 7 seconds, at least with the initial practice session. And he said that even though that's that much faster from what he remembered last year, he's been driving this PM18 in Indy Pro for the season so far. The transition was actually pretty easy. He said the track has changed a little bit, but he knew that he had to get on the throttle early. With only 5 sessions, you got to get right at it. You can't sit back like you may want to learning the racetrack, especially when you have the competition you have in this particular series.
What's changed in this circuit?
Well, I think most of the drivers are looking around to potentially this 8, 9, 10 combination. Not even that, pardon me, 9, 10, 11. It's 11. They're thinking that maybe the edge of 11, that it was more of a gradual kind of turn-in. It seems like it's tightened up a little bit. Every year is a little bit different. I don't know whether they'll change it later on this evening, but that's primary the difference. But the bumps are still here. They always say track is bumpy, track is slick, but the drivers know that they had to get ready to come out here for qualifying.
This will be a 20-minute qualification session. We are already 4 minutes into it as Daniel Frost bumps his way to P1, the provisional pole, and already down, eclipsing that minute 11 second mark down to a minute 10.9992.
Michael, though, still 3 seconds off the track record set last year by the eventual champion Rinus VK, who was running for Juncos Racing. The thing about the differences of any time we come to a street circuit, are you going to see a track record time? Maybe have they made any changes to the compound of the tire at all? It's more, I think, to do with the way the track's laid out, the condition of the track, and of course the temperature. It's a lot cooler, I think, than it was here last year, a lot warmer here last year. You know, we were expecting to see temperatures in the high 70, 78, 79. Still only 72 degrees here trackside.
And windy. I mean, the conditions, as we talked about this morning, we were expecting some sunshine. It's like, well, they're going to have to deal with a completely different race circuit after 6 other series have been out onto this circuit. It's going to be a completely different ballgame, and it really hasn't changed that much.
It's interesting that though every session is going to be different. Kyle Kirkwood brought that up. He knows how much different it was going to be from 9 o'clock this morning to his 2:05 qualifying session. You got Indy out there. You've got the GT3 cars. You got the Pinty's cars out. The Stadium Super Trucks out. This track is going to be drastically different than it was when these Indy Pro 2000 drivers took to the circuit early. But right now, watching Parker Thompson, a young Canadian driver, we've all kind of followed him through the ranks, through USF 2000. Last year into Indy Pro. He was a 2-time winner here in USF 2000 just a couple of years ago. Parker Thompson doing double duty here this weekend. You'll see him in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Here it's on track now. And then he jumps on over into the tin top as he drives the Porsche GT3. So back and forth for Parker Thompson. He's a veteran driver. He's been doing a lot of Porsche racing as well this year, Michael. But that transition from the very nimble, light Formula car to the larger, more top-heavy Porsche is going to be interesting.
I want to sympathize with his plight, having to run in 2 different series, but I know he'll be wiped out by the end of the weekend, but he has to be having the time of his life. To go from an Indy Pro 2000 car, then hop into Porsche and drive it around, it's a weekend. It's got to be a thrill.
I almost think it's a season of thrills for him as well, because Parker Thompson in the offseason, here's, again, a young driver from Red Deer, Alberta, Canada, one of the Canadian hopes here. He's running with Able Motorsports, but he came into the season and didn't have a ride at all. At one point this season, he had 4 different rides. He had to give up one of the rides because he's got so much work. He's having to go back and forth. One weekend he was in one car and then flew to drive the other car without qualifying it. He's kind of juggling what he can, but for Parker Thompson, I think one of the great young Canadian hopes that could be a future star in the NTT IndyCar Series, whether it's IndyCar, whether it's sports cars, he's going to be a future star here for Canada.
Why?
I think the reason for Parker Thompson, number one, commitment and passion for it and a never-ending desire to make it happen. And because of that, it's both sides of the coin. Not only does he work on inside the car and being a driver, but anybody will tell you he's an absolute sponsor's dream out of the car as well. He works so hard on both sides of it. The public speaking, working with fans, not just being a race car driver. He's a complete driver for sure.
And what has happened, I think, in his career, he has been brought in to help teams find their way and to set up cars.
Very
and he's
true.
done a fantastic job at that.
It's interesting because you talk to a lot of people at the road to Indy. Those were when Mazda was still here, and that was the kind of guy that they would love to have had as a Mazda sponsored driver, right? He just wasn't able to win a championship because not having the money. He's really only been with one straight up championship winning team. When he came into USF2000, he was with JDC Motorsports, and then he moved to be able to run with Cape Motorsports. Had a fantastic battle with his teammate Anthony Martin from Australia. They went at it for the championship, but Martin wins the title. At that point, it looks like Parker Thompson's going to be done. But then he hooks up with Exclusive Autosport. They're coming into the program. They were an F1600 team. They buy a couple of USF2000s. Hey, Parker, you're our guy. Let's set some data up, right? The next year, we're going to move to Indy Pro 2000. Parker, you're our guy. Zero data. So let's go out and drive, and we'll see what we can do. He won races and was obviously in a championship battle with Rinus VK last year. Again, off-season, no drives. Maybe not going to be able to race at all in 2019. Able Motorsports says, hey, Parker, guess what? You're our guy. And he comes with his team. Again, no data. They won the first 2 races of the year. They struggled a little bit mid-season, coming back a little bit. If he can get a couple of wins here, Parker Thompson's going to be the Parker Thompson of old.
And as you had said, he is not only so very impressive in the car, but outside of the cockpit. He, as you said, a sponsor's dream. He is just so well-spoken. As you said, he is the complete package.
The great thing about Parker, again, is he loves doing this. He loves being part of it. A lot of the drivers will tell you, if they're honest with you, they really like the racing side, but, that sponsor side, the media side, not so much in love with it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of dinners. It's a lot of interviews. Parker absolutely revels in it. He just thinks he loves the entire package of what you have to be, and that's why he works so hard to become that absolute sponsor's dream. And he's making it happen right now. The opportunities he's getting in sports car racing, I think, is really helping him. About 10 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, a short 20-minute session. The point leader Rasmus Lint from Sweden for Hunkos Racing leading the way. His teammate Stingray Robb from Payette, Idaho in the second spot. So Hunkos Racing first and second. 109.1 for Rasmus Lint. Probably about, I want to say, 1.2 seconds off the track record. So they're down there, but not where Rinus VK was last year. Stingray Robb in second, 109.3. Kyle Kirkwood coming off a couple of wins at Road America, right back in the championship battle. Kyle Kirkwood for RP Motorsport in the number 28, now third. Daniel Frost for Exclusive Autosport in fourth. Nikita Lastochkin in the fifth spot. Lastochkin in the number 90 in fifth. Parker Thompson into pit lane. He's sixth now. Parker Thompson, one of only 4 drivers in pit lane now. They're going to make some adjustments. Maybe put on some fresh rubber.
Was watching turn number 8, the exit into turn number 9 just about a minute or two ago. And Antonio Serravalle had a moment and nearly caught up Ian Rodriguez. And Rodriguez had to do some evasive maneuvers to get around Serravalle.
I saw that coming at 8 through 9, yeah. It's almost like Serravalle was thinking about coming into pit lane, but then didn't.
Probably because Rodriguez stuck to the outside or the pit lane side. And,
Sure enough.
And Serravalle couldn't get in. That's a good call. That's probably what was happening.
Kyle Kirkwood to the top of the charts, 108.6. We're now 0.7 of a second off the track record. 108.697. Kyle Kirkwood to P1.
I thought we'd get high 108s. We might we might eclipse the one, get down to 107.
Always that battle with your temperature, right? You want enough temperature for the tires to get lots of grip, but when it's cooler, the engines like that air a lot too. So this will be interesting to see if we're able to get down to track record pace, but nonetheless, Kyle Kirkwood coming off that those 2 wins at Road America, back-to-back jacks in Wisconsin. Big for him because the confidence is there, the momentum is there. But to get those first victories, Michael, you know, he was able to win a record number of USF2000 races last year, won 13 races last year, set a new record, eclipsing the one held for many, many years by J.R. Hildebrand. He won both races here in Toronto. He loves this racetrack. A couple of big wins here. This could change the tides in this particular program.
Well, of course, your call of back-to-back jacks. You were like back-to-back. You were a lot of back-to-back this last year.
He won a lot of races last year.
Yes, he did.
And smart. He was smart. He stayed out of trouble. It wasn't always on the pole position, but always was able to get himself to the front. And that's a mark of a driver who's got racecraft, which I think is key.
One of the drivers to watch, Kyle Kirkwood, minute 8:69.78.
I'm just going to say we had a couple of drivers out there. You can see them if you're watching on the screen, watching on our Road to Indy TV app or one of the online web pages. You can see them kind of swerving back and forth, warming those tires up a little bit. So we have had a couple of drivers who have come into pit lane.
Saw a couple of sticker tires for several of the drivers.
Nikita Lastochkin in as well on the number 90 for Exclusive Autosport. Philippe Dennis, Charles Finelli, Moises De Oliveira. In fact, no time yet for De Oliveira. I wonder what happened to Moises. Mexican with F4 experience. Went through the USF2000 program back here in Indy Pro. Second rung of the road to Indy. Coming out of pit lane. Moving things back up. Good shot of the drivers coming out of, I believe that's turn 1 and 2. That's going to be Kyle Kirkwood. Rocket down the back straightaway here. Lakeshore Boulevard. Good shot there of the CN Tower in the background. They'll work their way down the long back straightaway to the hard-braking bumpy turn number 3, the right-hander. From there, they transition from the asphalt to the concrete. It's an uphill run.
I was driving down Lakeshore on my way in and past the turn-in there at turn 3. I guess I never realized it. There is quite a climb right there.
It's a big elevation change. We actually talked to Oliver Askew, gave us a kind of a lap around for our IndyCar radio broadcast for Indy Lights. He talked about the fact that once you're turned there, once you've been able to get around the corner, it's a lot easier to roll back onto power because the car naturally is going to squat back on the rear tires so you can roll on the throttle. You're not usually worried about getting too much rear wheel spin because you'll get that on the concrete, but except for the fact that it's going back uphill. Here's your Fast 5 right now. Kyle Kirkwood leading the way, 108.6. Red flag, I believe. I think we got a red flag. Kirkwood, Lint, Frost, Robb, and Rodriguez. Thompson back in 7th, just got on fresh tires. And we got a driver off the track somewhere. Can't quite see it yet here on our GoPro, or our GPS. Potentially the 51 of Jacob Abel coming out of turn 4 over to turn number 5.
Boy, what a rough day that would be if that is indeed Jacob Abel. Had the incident early this morning.
Yeah, and coming out of turn number 11.
Yep.
Hard contact with the wall outside of 11. First lap in. He's been able to only get 3 or 4 laps in here now. So again, red flag with about 14 minutes remaining.
Well, we look at our turn 5 camera. Is that him right there? Looking back and towards turn. Well, there's a car that just went through.
Here's the turn 5. I believe the turn 5 here as they come up to 5. We're trying to pick it. I can't see him anywhere on the racetrack at this point.
Is there something back in 3? Maybe in the looking back from 4 back into 3 by the Acura sign?
Hard to see from our vantage point, but again, red flag as you can see out here on the racetrack. 15 minutes down, 4 minutes still remaining. I said 14. It's a 20-minute session, just 4 minutes remaining. Man, tough one for those guys that came into pit lane to put fresh rubber on. They were just starting to spool things up. We watched them kind of warming the tires a little bit, able to get going again. That's when they wanted to put that lap down, and you had to expect a guy like Parker Thompson, likely on a flyer. Yeah, he had done a 128.8 last time by. He had just started to get things warmed up and wasn't able to drop the time down. Kirkwood, though, going to benefit by it so far. Kyle Kirkwood, P1. 108.697 for Kirkwood, about 0.3 of a second faster than the current point leader, Rasmus Lind. Daniel Frost in 3rd, so 3 of the top 4 in points, 1, 2, 3 in the order as well. Stingray Robb now runs in 4th spot. Ian Rodriguez 5th. 6 is Lastochkin. 7th is Thompson. 8th, Dennis. 9th, Saravalli. 10th, Enders. 11th, Finelli. 12th is Abel. And 13th is Moises de la Vera. And again, 3 minutes remaining in this session. Will we get back to green quick enough for some of these drivers to get out there? Just waiting to hear the engines fire up.
Well,
and
sounds like
indeed,
they're rolling out.
Here we come. There goes Lynn. Number 2 of Stingray Robb. Drivers back out and ready to go.
So I'm guessing they have just pulled Jacob Abel off the track in one of the runoff areas.
Parker Thompson back out in front of us. The 28 of Kyle Kirkwood. The 5 of Rodriguez. Hey.
Plenty of time to get a good lap.
We're going to have a dash. Yeah,
Yep.
they're going to have a couple of laps for sure. Potentially 2 laps if they're lucky. But that's all it takes. You got to throw the 1 lap down and make it happen. Remember, through this session as well, they're starting to burn through the fuel. The car's going to get as light as it's going to be. Guys like Parker Thompson put fresh rubber on. He scuffed it in a little bit. It won't take quite as much time to come up to temperature now that he's scuffed it a little bit. Kirkwood, though, holding the spot. 108.697. Kyle Kirkwood in the number 28.
And the temperature will still be in those tires. They won't have fallen off that much. So it's not going to take a lot for them to get a quick lap. I don't think we'll see it this time through, obviously coming off a pit lane. But, boy, this next time by, it's going to tell the tale of this qualification session.
Well, the guys are going to have to get the job done, that's for sure. That's the big thing now. The crew chiefs have said, get out there, drop the hammer, get it done. You get 2 laps. We can't do anything for you now. The car is the car. Get at it. Parker Thompson looking for him to come back around. I haven't seen him yet. I think he's trying to give himself some open track as well. Key is having open track. You don't want to get caught up by anyone. There goes the 11 of Saravalli. Kyle Kirkwood with the fast lap, as we said. So just a little update here. I got someone sending me in a photo. It looks like left rear damage for the number 6 of Moises de la Vera, potentially being called to race control. An incident during this qualifying session for the young Mexican driver.
Probably tagged it coming out through turn number 3, swung wide. That left rear got into the wall, and he came to rest at turn number 4.
Very possible.
Here's the tail of the tape, if you will. The 10, the 2 by. Here comes Parker Thompson by.
Rasmuth Lint, still P2. Stingray Robb 4th. Parker Thompson across the line. He does his best lap, 106.666. Thompson just turned his best lap on those fresh tires. What does the young Canadian have in the Able Motorsports PM18? Thompson, that number 8. Kirkwood still on top, the 108.6.
And this will be it, Rob. We only have 24 seconds unless they give him an extension, and I doubt they will. By the time that they come around and take that checkered flag, or I should say the checkered flag will probably be out by the time they make it back to turn number 8.
Again, as we said, they get that checker not at start-finish for timing and scoring, but coming out of turn number 8 so they can immediately dive into the pits. So they will see the checker when they come out of the corner. So this should be the final lap in qualifying. For Indy Pro 2000, the American driver Kyle Kirkwood, reigning USF2000 champion, coming off 2 wins at Road America. He is currently the top driver. Kirkwood, 108.967. Turned that a couple laps ago, 109 flat last time by. Number of drivers heading back to pit lane already. Daniel Frost being one of them, Corey Enders as well. Everybody else coming through. They got that final time coming by.
Wow, Parker was a little bit quicker, still his best lap, but only P7 provisionally.
Yeah, Thompson needed, I think, 1 more lap to spool it down. He got down to a 109.473, about 3 or 4 hundredths of a second behind Lastochkin. So Nikita Lastochkin in the number 90 for Exclusive Autosport ends up in 6th. But even with that last couple of laps, Kyle Kirkwood able to defend his lap of 108.697 will stand. Talk about momentum for this driver here, coming off those wins, as I said, at Road America just a number of weeks ago. Kirkwood P1 as he tries to challenge Rasmuth Lint for a position atop the standings. Lint, the Swede, came in as your point leader here to Toronto. He qualifies 2nd, back by just 0.2 of a second. Daniel Frost in 3rd, the driver from Singapore for Exclusive Autosport. Lind for Juncos Racing and Kirkwood for RP Motorsport. Then it's Stingray Robb in 4th from Idaho. Guatemala's Ian Rodriguez in the 5th position. Nikita Lastochkin in the number 90 in 6th. Parker Thompson in 7th. got quicker and quicker. Both of those successive laps needed just a little bit more. Thompson 7th, Philippe Dennis in 8th. 9th is Antonio Saravalli from nearby Unionville, Ontario. Corey Anderson 10th, Charles Finelli 11th. Issues early for Jacob Abel, and as we know now, Moises de Oliveira as well. Potentially an issue with his transponder. Didn't put a time, but he was out on the racetrack and got into the incident. So.
Right.
Kyle Kirkwood's got the momentum right now. Big for him.
He's pretty good.
Well, again, we saw him win 13 races last year in USF2000 with Cape Motorsports. Moved over to RP Motorsport here in Indy Pro. And the biggest issue for Kyle is the fact that he's just had some of the bad luck during the opening laps of races. He's had speed, but I believe it was the second race. I think the first or second race in St. Petersburg, ends up not getting a wing knocked off in the opening race. Had to come down pit lane and put another wing on. Same thing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. Had the penalty for a jump start in one race, and then got the nose knocked off in the second race. So a number of issues there for Kyle Kirkwood, but the luck has swung his way, the pendulum moving in his order. Kyle Kirkwood, 2 wins, back-to-back wins to come in here to Toronto. He will be the pole sitter for race number 1.
That is a good front row. Kyle Kirkwood and Rasmus Lynch, championship implications, and boy, those two will be going at it tomorrow for race number 1 of the Indy Pro 2000 series. Coming up next, the first rung of this Road to Indy program. It's a Cooper Tires USF 2000 championship. The young drivers will take to the circuit, qualifying for race number 1, which will also happen tomorrow. We welcome you, race fans, on this Honda Fan Friday. It's day number 1 of the Honda Indy Toronto.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International. Perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
Pretty brave move to put these tires on straight up race cars.
The race truck is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.
For 15 seasons, the Castrol Toyota Racing Series has led the way in New Zealand motorsport. With 170 drivers and 276 races so far, the graduates have made their mark in international motor racing. This is the pathway for the world's young drivers. And this series hits the racetracks of New Zealand for 5 weeks every year on the quest to find the next world champion.
Parker Thompson, Kyle Kirkwood, 1-2, great jump. We're underway.
Road to Indy Race Recap.
All 3 series on the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires invaded the picturesque Road America facility in June, taking to the challenging 4.1-mile, 14-turn circuit that they refer to as America's National Park of Speed. Juncos Racing's Renus VK dominated the speed charts all weekend in the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires, scoring the pole for both races of the doubleheader. At the start of race 1 on Sunday, VK showed the only chink in his armor, going 4 wheels off on his first run through the very challenging Turn 7, bringing the car back under control as Andretti Autosport's Robert McGuinness attacked to capitalize on the error. VK defended aggressively to his left, which was dealt with swiftly by the race stewards, who issued the Dutch driver a stiff drive-through penalty. With the track clear, Andretti veteran Ryan Norman took control and would drive off to a 4.6-second victory over McGuinness. Wisconsin native Aaron Tiedlitz was back with Bellardi Auto Racing at Road America and delivered an impressive run to 3rd. VK rebounded on Sunday, dominating the action from start to finish, posting his 3rd win of the year, joining his victories at St. Petersburg and the IndyCar GP weekend at IMS. Freedom 100 winner Oliver Askew improved on his 5th place finish from Saturday to complete the podium in 3rd on Sunday. The Indy Pro 2000 field continues to develop, and Parker Thompson and his Able Motorsports team rebounded from a couple of challenging outings to qualify on pole for race number 1. Once the race went green, RP Motorsports' Kyle Kirkwood was immediately on the charge from his P3 starting spot, taking the lead early and dominating the action. And by the time the checkered flag flew, RP Motorsport was rewarded with their best race since joining the Road to Indy last year, finishing 1st and 2nd with Guatemala's Ian Rodriguez taking his first podium in only his 2nd race weekend. Thompson fought hard for a crucial 3rd place result, finishing ahead of point leader Rasmus Lindt to close the gap in the title chase. On Sunday, Juncos Racing's Lindt led from pole, but Kirkwood would not be denied as he made a strong move under braking into the downhill turn 5, controlling the apex to grab hold of the lead. From there, the 2018 USF2000 champion simply managed the gap ahead of Lindt, completing the sweep of the Road to America weekend after 15 clean and consistent laps. Thompson once again drove himself onto the podium, moving to second in the title fight as a result. The Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship celebrated a new victor in Race 1 as Mazda Scholarship winner Hunter McElroy of New Zealand took the lead in the early going from his Pabst Racing teammate and pole sitter Colin Kaminsky. Jetting out from the rest of the field with McElroy, Kaminsky carded his second consecutive podium finish to come home ahead of Newman Walks Racing's Cameron Shields. Sunday's race was all Eves as Braden and Cape Motorsports rose to the top of the order, passing McElroy for the lead before pulling away. Eves finished over 4 seconds ahead of his Cape teammate Darren Keane, who turned the fastest lap of the race to score his second podium finish of the year. McElroy hung on to a spot in the top 3, finishing off a positive weekend in which he cut the gap on Eves ever so slightly. The series has reached the halfway point, and the championships will now begin to tighten, with just 5 race weekends still left on the 2019 schedule. Victorious in Mid-Ohio. Smart coming through that corner.
Hi, my name is Darren Keane. I'm from Boca Raton, Florida. I'm currently racing in the USF2000 Championships in the Cape Motorsports number 2. I'm from Boca Raton, Florida. I was born there. Apart from my whole life, obviously, I lived in England for 2 years, from when I was 14 to 16. And I karted over there a bunch, and I was just trying to improve my racing craft and stuff like that. I feel like as a kid growing up in England, you have a lot more freedom. Not like rights-based, obviously, but my parents wouldn't let me like walk to the park or like walk to the store or wherever living in Florida, but in England that's just the normal. So I would walk to school, which is like probably like a 25-minute walk, like walk to the park, hang out with my friends. Outside of racing, I really like anything like outside related, pretty much. Being in Florida, we have nice weather the whole year, so a lot of boating, fishing. I go skimboarding at the beach. I really like board-related stuff at school, like a longboard around to get to class and stuff like that. I think my favorite racetrack to this date is probably Watkins Glen. I'm pretty upset that it's not on the schedule anymore, but I'm really excited for Toronto. Like, I always just love street courses, especially one like Toronto, because it's just like, you know, a minute and 10 seconds of like manhandling the car. Follow me on the road to Indy this year at Darren_Keane25 on Instagram and Twitter, and Darren Keane Racing on Facebook.
Scott crossing the yard bricks.
As we leave the Kettle Moraine region of Wisconsin, there are two stories that stand out. Great team results and Soul Red winners. USF2000 stalwarts Pabst Racing from nearby Economowoc and their drivers Hunter McElrea and Colin Kaminsky scored one win, stood on the podium 3 times, and collected 4 top 5s in their home race. Sophomore team RP Motorsport, with rookie drivers Kyle Kirkwood and Ian Rodriguez, visited Victory Lane twice. Andretti Autosport, with threesome Ryan Norman, Oliver Askew, and Robert McGinnis, had 1 win and 4 podiums in a successful visit to Sheboygan County. For the first time since the 2017 season-opening event in St. Petersburg, all 3 cars featuring the Soul Red livery of the Mazda Advancement Scholarship winner visited Victory Lane on the same weekend. On Saturday, it was Road to Indy $200,000 shootout winner McElrea winning his first USF2000 race, and reigning USF2000 champ Kirkwood winning his first Indy Pro 2000 race. Kirkwood went back to Victory Lane on Sunday and was joined by Juncos Racing Indy Lights rookie Rinus VK, the reigning Indy Pro 2000 champion.
Boy, look at this freight train as now the Lucas starts down to the inside. 3 wide through turn 4. Tuck the sky gives.
Road to Indy, beyond the grid.
Hi, my name is Nikita Lastochkin. I'm from Russia, Moscow, and I live in Los Angeles. And I also drive for Exclusive Autosport, car number 90, Indy Pro 2000. I'm from Russia originally, but I moved to California when I was 16. Yeah, it's been pretty wild. What can I say? Living in Los Angeles for about 10 years now, I have a lot of history with the city, and I always...
In the public address booth, the voice of this Road to Indy program, Rob Howden, back with us. And boy, these boys and girls are getting very busy and getting out there quickly.
Well, they're going to have to do that because they have to maximize every possible lap available. The morning practice session, their lone practice ahead of qualifying, was that opportunity. The 30 minutes. We're going to go out and we're going to go green to checker. We're going to get a bunch of laps in. We're going to get comfortable here in Toronto. Learn this racetrack. Instead, 3 different red flags. They only had probably 4 or 5 actual at-speed laps over that 30-minute run. So the drivers who have been here before over the last couple of years, they're going to come into this qualifying session, potentially the remainder of the weekend, with a big advantage. Those drivers not able to get the laps are really essentially a full session behind.
Yeah, Yuvan Sundamaruthi and Jack Crawford, the big incident right at the start of the session, and that was the exit of turn number 11. Sundamaruthi, yep, spins around. Crawford collected in that.
Also, Nolan Siegel went around in that, trying to avoid it. Just a little bit of tap on the wheel,
Siegel,
bent a wheel. And then
he bent a wheel.
Yeah, then Colin Kaminsky actually got held up. It was actually Hunter McElrea that got into the barriers coming out of turn number 8, stuffed it into the tires. Kaminsky had nowhere to go. He ended up getting in there. The number of drivers having issues on the racetrack. And Will Suleiman from Mexico also getting involved in an incident early. So,
yeah, we had no video screen, so we did not know the extent of that incident in turn number 8.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to see that, but we did get some input later. They actually worked their tails off trying to get the car ready for Hunter McElrea. Within maybe an hour ago, it was still on the scale pad. When you're on the scale pad, you're trying to make sure everything's weighed out correctly. They had to put new parts on the machine, but they were able to get him taken care of. With the issues that happened to the Pabst Racing drivers that put them near the tail of the field, remember Kaminsky and McElrea, 3rd and 2nd in the points respectively. It allowed the drivers from Cape Motorsports, Darren Keane and Braden Eves, to come out strongly. Eves comes into this event as the point leader, having won 5 races this year, 5 of the 7 events. But it was Darren Keane actually that turned the fastest lap. He's been here a couple times before. Darren taking full advantage of it. Lots of momentum coming off the weekend at Road America. And Darren Keane settling in, looking to try to get his first ever Road to Indy race win.
Well, Darren Keane quick thus far, minute 15:04.73, although we'll see those lap times drop this qualification session. Just 3 minutes old at this point. Tell me about Jack Crawford. We saw him with a slight limp, and we don't see him on the circuit right now. Will he be back?
I was told he was going to be back. I actually saw Jack after he left the medical center. They did an x-ray on the foot, no damage whatsoever. It was severely swollen. He had an ice pack on it, but he was walking back to the paddock when I saw him. I was pretty sure that we were going to see him back on the racetrack. We'll look for him visually here now, whether or not he's out there. But I fully expected Jack to get back on track, except for the fact he may not make this qualifying. Now that I think about it, talking to the guys that I did, he kind of broke that car in half.
That was a broken car.
Yeah, it was totally broken in half. There was a lot of suspension damage, potential damage with the engine as well. So Crawford may be on the sidelines here for this qualifying run.
If you were with us this morning in one of the grandstands right here at the exit of turn number 11, when the safety team and the CAA team went to lift that car, you could see the engine actually droop down, that it had actually broken the mounts for that engine into the car.
So as we get rolling here now, Darren Keane out front, getting a little bit of information from Steve Whittick from TSOladder.com back in the media center, telling me that it cannot confirm it, but very unlikely that Crawford will be able to get that car fixed and get him back out. Yeah, they did have about 6 hours time, but that's a lot of work to put into it. If he indeed damaged that car as aggressively as we think he may have, good possibility we will not see Crawford back out. Now, of course, the team then will have all night to get it ready to have him back out here for the second qualifying session and, of course, the 2 races this weekend.
But you made such a great point. He had 0 track time, and now throwing him to the wolves, try to get back out tomorrow for just racing. I mean,
his first laps of this racetrack are going to be in qualifying for race number 2.
Yep.
So Crawford definitely on the back foot here. Just getting into this session, we're about a quarter of the way through. 5 minutes now down, 15 minutes remaining in a very short and sweet 20-minute qualifying session. Darren Keane out of the box quickly here with a 113.758, 0.7 of a second quicker than his teammate Reese Gold. Gold just 14 years of age. We're going to keep seeing the times fall as these drivers get some heat built into these Cooper tires.
It's way early, but impressed so far. Christian Rasmussen. I'm trying to remember where Christian was in that opening practice session.
Well,
he was P7,
yeah,
but
we got to remember at St. Petersburg, he actually was battling Darren Keane for the race win.
Yeah,
Those are the 2 drivers that got together. Keane looped it around.
Well, we got a red flag.
Oh, red flag already. Issue on the racetrack. Wow, we've had a number of issues here. There's a driver there. Looks like someone in turn number 8, Michael. We've got it on the screen.
Yep.
We'll have a look at it here. Driver off into the barriers in turn number 8. That's the number 14 of Zach Holden. Wow, Holden making his first start, coming back to the program here with Legacy Autosport. They had started the season with the French driver Alex Barron, a former winner in the USF2000 program, winner last year as well. This is not what they were looking for, and it looks to be like some pretty significant damage.
One of those situations, I think he overcooked that turn, and I'm just guessing here. Didn't use the runoff, couldn't make the turn, and couldn't get her woe down in time.
Well, and you can see that it's well around the corner as well, so we probably got the thing rolling around. But from what we can see, I'm going to say left front damage, left rear damage likely too. Great to see Zach Holden unstrapping out of the car and pulling out of the cockpit here. We're going to get a chance to see a replay of this. Those of you who are following online at home, here's a shot of turn number 8, very bumpy coming in. You can see the car just starts to lose control. Big contact from the rear, just caught the tires. Rear wing goes flying, and again, those tires did their job. Not at all a heavy impact for Zach Holden, but the damage done to the car for sure. Potentially even left rear out. There's your left rear damage there. One of the Miller Venetieri cars making contact there. So he got the car turned, but was carrying so much speed into the corner. And then, as we said, Michael, when you go in turn number 8, very similar in turn 1, very similar in turn number 3. You come off the asphalt, you go into the concrete, and once it hits the concrete, it just kind of takes off. Here come the drivers through. That's one of the Paps cars. Here he comes through now. Let's have a look at Zach Holden trying to roll the corner. And, you know what? He missed the apex as well.
Yeah, he did.
I think he was probably about a foot or maybe 2 feet off the apex. You could see that car. Man, I'd like to see that replay one more time if we could.
I wonder if that curbing sitting down there in turn number 8, if he potentially, that wouldn't have kicked the back end of that car out. He was just going way too fast and missed the apex of that corner, it looks like.
And remember, if the car is already turned in and you start to transition off the bumps, you're turning in, you lose that grip once you hit the concrete. And if the car is not situated correctly, if the weight balance isn't right, you're going to lose that rear end. He was he was really trying to roll a lot of corner speed, but I think he missed the exit by a bit. Well, not too bad, but you can see the car already rotating.
Yeah.
It's already coming around once he gets to the apex. The car got very light on him and really nowhere to go. And to be lucky, good thing he got into the barriers.
He hit hard, yeah. He nearly missed the tire barrier.
Got into those tires. If he'd not got into the tire barrier, you can see one of the Miller Vinatieri cars coming through. I think that might have been Eduardo Barrichello, just a touch on the right rear. But again, not what we wanted to see out of Zach Holden. Here's a young driver out of Greenfield, Indiana. Zach's been trying to run a couple of races here and there. He's never had a chance to put a really good run together. We saw him run for D-Force Racing for a time, but they got picked up for this particular event by Legacy Autosport, Mike Meyer's team, the legendary names from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Mike's squad here at Legacy Autosport did not need this. Michael, look at it as we see it come out. Yeah, big time.
Wow, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage to that race car now. And these guys have had some issues as well. Alex Barron's was involved in a couple incidents early. So again, Zach Holden involved in this incident down in turn number 8. Pretty significant cleanup, but great job here for the AMR safety crew and the CAA crew. They've got that car up already. Only 10 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, so we're going to get a nice dash at the end. But again, what's the key here? Michael is getting that tire barrier back in place as well. You know that the AMR safety crew will not go green with this racetrack unless they believe that tire barrier is safe enough for the remainder of the drivers.
Well, the tire barriers, as you said, Rob, did their job. Unfortunately for Zach, they did their job extremely well, and he got sucked in there, and it turned him around and basically took all 4 corners off that car. And what was ever left, Eduardo Barrichello potentially could have taken that last corner just to add insult to injury.
Christian Rasmussen was able to turn the fastest time of that first half of this session. We're coming right around to the halfway point, just past the halfway point now. Rasmussen in the number 6 for Jay Howard Driver Development. Fastest lap time, a 1:13.545. Darren Keane, who was quickest in the practice session this morning, just 2/10 off, 1:13.758. I expect more to come from Darren. Hunter McElray, a win at Road America, the number 22 for Pabst Racing, currently in 3rd. Remember, they had to put that car together after an incident over in turn 8. 14-year-old Reese Gold for Cape Motorsports, P4, the number 3. And then 3rd place point sitter Colin Kaminsky from Chicago, Illinois, in the number 23, now in the 5th spot. Holden was 6th when the issue happened. I'm going to say he would be 6th, but bringing up the red flag, he's going to lose at least 1 fast lap, maybe 2. So watch for him to fall further down into the order. Braden Eves, your point leader, 5 wins thus far this year in the 8-ball for Cape Motorsports. Eves out of Gahanna, Ohio, in the number 8, as I said, P7. Bruna Tomaselli, the young lady for Pabst Racing out of Brazil, in 8th. Cameron Shields from Australia in the number 73, a winner at the Oval. Lucas Oil Raceway in the Carbonite Classic Freedom 75. Shields scoring his first win back in May. He's 9th. Eduardo Barrichello, 2nd-generation driver in the 41 in 10th. Of course, the son of Rubens Barrichello. Eduardo coming over from the F4 U.S. Championship. Jack Miller is Barrichello's teammate at Miller Vinatieri Racing in 11th. Matt Round-Garrido now in 11th. They have made the move. Indeed, Holden has dropped to 12th. They've lost at least 1 lap, so Zach Holden, they have updated the points, or rather the times, taking away his fast lap for bringing out the red. Holden drops to 12th. That moves Eves to 6th, Tomaselli to 7th, Shields up to 8th, Barrichello 9th, and Miller 10th. Matt Round-Garrido from England, now 11th, Holden 12th. Manuel Suderman in 13th, Yuvan Sundaramurthy in 14th, Christian Bogle 15th, Nolan Siegel in 16th spot. Man, just watching this time kind of tick away here.
This has just been unfortunate for this USF2000 series. Lost so much time in that morning practice session, and now this red flag. They're losing qualification times as well.
They don't have 20 minutes of green flag running.
You're probably right.
Probably not even 15 minutes of full green flag running. That's how tough it's been for USF2000. And when it comes to these young drivers at the first rung of the road to Indy, that's all we want is seat time. And that's not something we usually see. They've run really good this year. We had a couple of races at Road America where we ran green to checker. You know, all of our races were green to checker on the Sunday at Road America. We hope to see more of that. Toronto, of course, a different animal, though, Michael, as we know. You know, that particular spin there, the car looping around for Zach Holden, that's at Road America. He just goes 4 wheels off in the grass.
Yep.
And we're continuing, and he continues on. No damage whatsoever. At Toronto, though, that's the kind of mistake that these young drivers have to minimize. And, hey, Zach Holden did it in USF2000. We saw Colton Herta do it last year in Indy Lights. He was actually on the pole already, was pushing hard for one better lap, and he went off in turn number 8 into those exact same tire barriers, injured his wrist, which kind of hampered him for the rest of the weekend, and, of course, lost a fast lap of the race for bringing out the red flag.
And not saying that cost him the championship, but he and Patricio Award, his teammate at the time, and Patricio went on to get the championship. It may have cost him. It really hampered his driving, not to the point that he couldn't drive, but I know he was hurting when he got back in the cockpit of that car.
So you can see they're doing as much work as they possibly can, but right there we're kind of watching the tractor, the articulate tractor going to work on these tires, but we're also watching that clock ticking away for qualifying. Less than 6 minutes remaining. So laps of a minute 13. We're probably somewhere around the 5 laps, 4 lap kind of thing here now. We may see another quick little battle. We're hoping they're able to get these tires back in position so we can get back to it here.
Tim Boffman, the director of track safety for AMR and the safety team and IndyCar, he's there, and he is the gentleman in that fire suit. He's looking over the repairs made to that tire barrier, and as Rob said, they will not cut these cars loose until they are confident that that tire barrier is 100% effective for potentially keeping cars from getting into that wall. They will not rush this repair. Well, they'll do as best they can, but they will not cut these cars loose until they're sure that tire barrier is 100%.
It's one of the things that we say all the time here on the road to Indy, and that's just this. The fact that these drivers are able to run with the IndyCar program, it's amazing that we're able to run at these incredible venues. We're able to have such high-level race control and whatever it may be. But the other huge thing about the road to Indy is the absolute extreme level of safety that we have being associated with IndyCar and being able to have access to the AMR safety crew. You cannot oversell that fact when you're talking about young kids anywhere from 14 to 22 years of age racing here in USF2000, Indy Pro, or Indy Lights.
What's a familiar face, right? These AMR safety crew members know these drivers, and boy, when you get rattled in one of these cars, there's nothing better to know that you have the very best coming to your attention, and usually a familiar face would greet you at the car. So a lot to be said, and our thanks to the AMR safety team for their not only quick reactions to any incidents that we have here on the racing circuits, but making sure that these track preparations and the track safety is at the utmost forefront and 100% each and every time we go racing.
One interesting thing, Michael, obviously the next particular track session is practice for the NTT IndyCar Series, so it's not like we can borrow from one of our own Road to Indy sessions to kind of maybe squish it up a little bit. We're hoping potentially to get another minute, maybe 2 minutes added to the clock, but it's tough to do that knowing that the IndyCar guys are going to be set to come out here. I believe their session starts at 3:15. That's 17 minutes from now. Even if we got a couple more laps or a couple more minutes, I'm sure that there's some pleading going on in race control right now to try to sliver away a couple of minutes potentially between the two sessions.
Well, we see the tire barriers getting cinched up. Boffman signaling for one of the safety crew members to come over to check the tire barriers out. Rob said, and we see on the video screens, 3 minutes remaining in this qualification session. The tough thing is, even if they get it repaired in the next 2 minutes and they don't extend the session, they won't even have an opportunity to really get a good lap in anyhow. I mean, we're down to crunch time right now.
And you mentioned it in the Indy Pro 2000 qualifying where we were able to come back out and get a couple of laps. The tires had not really fallen off on temperature. They've been sitting here on pit lane now for probably 7 minutes. Those Cooper tires have started to fall down.
Yeah,
that's the red time.
That's the red time.
I think
you're right.
We were right about halfway point,
Yep.
so probably about 7 minutes. Looks like we're set to go. The AMR crew walking themselves back off. We're going to be able to get back at it. 2.5 minutes remaining officially on the clock right now.
Outlap and maybe one flyer? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, they'll get the outlap and they'll get one flyer, I would assume. Now, if they're lucky, they're going to be able to be given maybe 2 more minutes. If we get 2 more, 1 more, maybe 2 laps at speed.
I'm going to talk to race control, see what you can muster here.
Well, I'm sure Tony Cotton's doing what he can. Dan Anderson's doing what he can to try to
Talking
sliver
Kyle
away some
Novak,
time.
yeah, hey, we need a couple
Kyle.
more minutes, yeah.
Come on.
You got a whole...
Just a minute.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Just need a couple of minutes
We
here.
hear the engines firing, so expected to go back to green, and indeed we are. The field rolling off pit lane. Minute 50.
Yeah.
If we don't extend it, well, they're going to have to hustle. They'll get one lap.
They'll get one lap.
They'll get one lap in.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Time to get out of here. These drivers really should try to find some space on the racetrack.
And they all go out together. Now they're a big gaggle of cars coming out of turn number 1. The last thing we need is another incident.
I think I'd be trying to gap. I'd be slowing up a bit to try to give myself a gap up front to be able to use that draft.
They're going to have enough time to make it to the timing and scoring line at the exit of turn number 8.
We're not, and I'm waiting. I'm looking at my phone here now to see whether or not I get a text from someone to tell me whether we potentially could be going a little longer. But otherwise, as Michael said, this will be it. They'll come around to get the green, and we'll be right back at it. Christian Rasmussen with the provisional pole time in the number 6 for Jay Howard driver development, a 113.545 for the number 6. And again, cold Cooper tires. The drivers are going to have to get up on the wheel and get at it. Let's see what kind of changes we have in the order. Again, no word at all if we're going to get any extra time on the racetrack. Drivers coming across here, 37 seconds remaining as they stream through turn number 8 and 9. You see the stripe right there between 8 and 9. That's the timing stripe. This very well could be the final lap on the racetrack. Did anybody get the job done? I think that it was Darren Keane jumping out as the front runner to have that open racetrack. Braden Eves will try to use him, of course, for the draft. They'll work their way out of turn number 2 and 3, or down the back straightaway to Lake Shore Boulevard. Down to turn number 3, a hard-braking right-hander, Christian Rasmussen. Indeed, the number 2 of Darren Keane out front. Then it's the number 8 of Eves, and the 3 of Reese Gold. So the drivers from Cape Motorsports leveraging the front pit spots. Can Keane drop the hammer here on one lap to go to P1? He really needs that bonus point. A 113.5 to a 113.7. I don't know if you can do it here on one lap, but Keane looks pretty good. He's pulled away nicely here from Braden Eves. Can he steal the pole away?
You're going to have to have
Christian Rasmussen.
Yeah, very stout lap to get it done
No
here.
doubt.
Here they come.
Keane coming across the line, 113.9. Not able to do it. Keane can't do it. He's P2. McElray P3. Gold P4. Eves P6. No, they needed one more lap to go any quicker. Keane was just 0.2 off his fast lap round. Garrido jumping up a spot, I believe, to 11th. Jack Crawford actually getting out on track. No, that's the 52 of Crawford potentially on track here at the end of the session.
Unless they traded transponders, that's Jack Crawford.
That's what we're seeing coming around.
Let's see. There he is. Yep, indeed it was.
Does he post a lap time? He does. A 122.3, kind of a reconnaissance lap, maybe to feel that the car.
Yeah, make sure it's okay.
They were able to get the car of Jack Crawford, that car that was broken in half this morning at 8:30, able to get it put back together and have him out there for at least one lap at the end of this session. Kudos to the D-Force Racing team.
An amazing job. And as we had said, if you'd seen that car this morning, I would have highly doubted they would have an ability to get that repaired and have him out. So the fact that they even turned one lap in this qualification session was a victory in and of itself. But a good overall qualification session, marred again, and as this entire weekend has been for the USF2000 Series drivers, by red flags.
I think we would have saw much quicker lap times. I think we would have saw a really good battle for the pole position. But Christian Rasmussen, he'll feel free to take this little gift because we only did get 7.5 minutes of green flag time. Rasmussen with the fast time in the number 6 machine early in the run. Lap number 6, his best, 113.545. Darren Keane coming home in the second spot. That'll be your front row. Rasmussen alongside Keane for race number 1. Race 2 will be Hunter McElray and Reese Gold. That's row number 2, rather. Row 3, Colin Kaminsky and Braden Eves. Row 4, Bruno Tomaselli and Cameron Shields. And row 5, Eduardo Barrichello and Jack Miller, the 2 teammates at Miller Vinatieri Racing on row number 5. Not the qualifying run we wanted. And to be honest, Michael, these guys, I don't think they've got 15 minutes of green flag racing. Green flag time on this racetrack yet today.
Yeah, it is frustrating, especially for a 20-minute qualification session to have 12 minutes of red flag and only 7 of green. Makes for a rough go for this first rung of the Mazda, or I should say the Road to Indy program, and these drivers, we'll see them again tomorrow for their first, or I should say their second qualification session, and then their first race of the weekend. So there's a schedule for the remainder of the day. The stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. Hopefully you had a chance to say hello to the drivers. the entire field with an autograph session at 1 o'clock this afternoon at the Anacare Center. Now back to business. James Hinchcliffe, Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, Simon Pagenaud, Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, Tony Kanaan. They're all out for their second and final practice session of the day. Green flag at 3:15. Then the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, their second practice session, followed up by the NASCAR Pinty Series qualifier for their big race tomorrow afternoon. 5:15 for the Pinty Series qualifying, and then the Indy Pro 2000 qualified just one session ago. They'll be back qualifying for race number 2. That'll round out the day at 6:30. Well, we hope you race fans are enjoying your Honda Fan Friday. Again, a big thank you to the Ontario Honda dealers for bringing this to you, and hopefully you donated generously to Make-A-Wish Canada. We thank you for all of your donations. NTT IndyCar Series, their practice session coming up next. It's day number 1 of the Honda Indy Toronto.
Gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
It's a pretty brave move to put these tires on straight-up race cars.
The race truck is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.